Good evening. It is the video engulfing a football star, his wife, and the entire NFL in a viscerally emotional controversy tonight. The surveillance camera capturing Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens knocking his wife out in a hotel elevator. So why is she standing by her husband, and who is she blaming instead? Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
If dragging his fiance's limp body wasn't enough, this was the game changer. Ray Rice with a brutal blow to his now wife's head in this video released yesterday by TMZ of what happened inside the elevator between NFL star Ray Rice and his then fiancée, Janae Palmer. But at this press conference back in May, only they knew what had really happened inside that elevator.
You know, I failed miserably, but I wouldn't call myself a failure, because I'm working my way back up.
We are continuing to strengthen our relationship and our marriage and do what we have to do.
For months, we'd only seen this grainy video of Rice pulling Palmer off this Atlantic City casino elevator on February 15th. And while we hadn't seen the moments leading up to it, the Atlantic City police summons stated what we didn't see, that Rice caused bodily injury to Janae Palmer, specifically by striking her with his hand, rendering her unconscious. That same day, Rice and Palmer were both arrested, charged, and released for what Rice's attorney called a minor physical altercation.
He never checked to see, is she okay? Is she breathing? Is she bleeding?
While Palmer indicated she did not want to go forward with prosecution, on March 27th, Rice is indicted on aggravated assault charges. The simple assault charges against her were dropped. The very next day, on March 28th, Rice and Palmer marry.
CPTI eligible?
On May 1st, Rice pleads not guilty and applies for a program for first-time offenders that could clear him of charges in as few as 6 months.
The prosecutor must have evaluated that the injuries would not raise themselves to a serious bodily injury.
On May 23rd, accompanied by his wife, we hear from Rice for the first time since his arrest.
I just want to thank her for loving me where I was weak and building up where I was strong.
Janae, sitting at his side, apologizes.
I do deeply regret the role that I played in the incident that night. I love Ray.
Some critics called the press conference a sham.
That, to me, was one of many indications that the Ravens did not understand anything about domestic violence. You have a woman who's been battered apologizing next to the man who's battered her, and the optics of that were horrible.
On July 24th, the NFL announces the penalty for Rice, a 2-game suspension for domestic violence.
There are consequences when you make a mistake like that. I stand behind Ray. He's a heck of a guy.
A firestorm erupts, with critics chastising the NFL for giving Rice a lesser punishment than the 6-game suspension imposed on players caught using banned substances.
And you can't have a league that has a over 40% female fan base and say to them that marijuana use is more important to us than domestic violence.
Then on August 28th, the NFL calls an audible, the league commissioner announcing a new domestic violence policy, making the punishment for assault, battery, domestic violence, or sexual assault a mandatory 6-game suspension. And just yesterday, after the video came out, Ray Rice, the face of the Baltimore Ravens, cut by the team and suspended from the NFL indefinitely.
It's something we saw for the first time today, all of us. And it changed things, of course. It made things a little bit different.
This after TMZ released this video of what happened inside the elevator. Video the NFL claimed it had never seen. But Jamel Hill, a columnist for ESPN, isn't buying it.
This is the same NFL that when players are drafted into this league, they know what kind of cereal they had for breakfast. That's how much homework they do on their players. So you mean to tell me that the NFL couldn't exercise more influence than TMZ?
But the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office corroborates the NFL story, telling ABC News it's grand jury material. It would have been improper, in fact illegal, to provide it to an outside private non-law enforcement entity.
It sounded bad, the stories were bad, but it took the video to make everyone aware of just how awful it was.
Uproar about the video prompted Rice's wife to break her silence this morning via Instagram, posting a message saying she woke up feeling like, "I'm mourning the death of my closest friend." She goes on to blame the media for causing her family pain, saying, "To make us relive a moment in our lives that we regret every day is a horrible thing." She ends by saying they will continue to grow and show the world what real love is.
We always want to talk about relationships are based on dignity and respect. And that was not present. Neither of those things were present in that relationship.
According to Katie Ray Jones, CEO of Domestic Violence Hotlines, victims often do love the abuser and focus on the fact that they aren't violent all the time.
Many women still see that man they fell in love with on a regular basis. He's not abusive all the time. And there are those moments where he's telling her he's going to change and things are going to be different.
Proof that what happened on this elevator back in February is much more than a sports story. After all, we've seen this story before with others in the public eye. There was Taylor Armstrong, living an apparently perfect life as one of the housewives of Beverly Hills. But behind the scenes, she later admitted she'd been hiding a secret.
I was trapped in a physically abusive relationship.
These photos show the wounds she says she received from her then husband, venture capitalist Russell Armstrong, who committed suicide soon after she filed for divorce.
In my own personal case, it starts out with yelling, and then you get grabbed by the throat or shoved down, and then it just escalates.
Armstrong says no one should be rushing to judge Janae Palmer.
To be a victim of domestic abuse is something that unless you've been through it yourself, there's no way you can relate to the feeling and to the back and forth and the roller coaster ride. I just would hope that someone that's close to her can lead her to someone who can help her make a smart decision for her and her family.
Domestic violence accounts for 48% of arrests for violent crimes among NFL players. But perhaps yesterday's about-face shows the Football League will no longer allow its players to get off easy. But Hill argues Rice still may find a home in the NFL.
There are players who have killed people that are in the NFL, that have played in the NFL. At this point, it would be impossible to rule out a future in the NFL for him, because as awful and horrible as this was, he's not the only player in the NFL playing right now that assaulted his partner or wife.
But for now, arguably one of the league's best running backs sidelined, and not because he had a physical altercation with his wife, but because there's video of it.
I am so hopeful that what this does, it shows everybody what domestic violence really is. And I'm so hopeful this wakes people up.
For Nightline, I'm Lindsay Davis in New York.